Good evening. Welcome to Hot Edition of 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Alfred Ocansey.
The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live on 3FM 927. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours, Health Ministry reports officials of Trauma and Specialist Hospital at Ojobi Winneba who abandoned woman to her death to police CID.
We have details of that report on the investigative committee as well, and some reactions on this here on Hot Edition's evening. Also, the National Labour Commission summons organised labour to a meeting over their intended strike on October 10, some 8 days away from today.
Also coming up on the programme, a National Labour Commission summons organised labour to a meeting over their intended strike. And of course, Attorney General calls for a swift completion of investigations into case of detained Democracy High protesters to enable the discharge of innocents among them.
Also, here on your Election Command Center, a coalition of domestic election observers, CODEO, deploys 100 long-term observers across all 16 regions to monitor the pre-election environment. And that's one thing we're going to keep an eye on as well, and how things play out here on your Election Command Center. We have the latest in business, sports, and also all across the campaign trail here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 for the next 1 hour 30 minutes. For now, though, let's settle for a summary of the news, and Safwa Boahin is here with the details. What do we know?
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment. And now on to the details. Attorney General Godfrey Dame says persons responsible for the attacks on the security forces and disruption of essential public services during protests must face the rigors of the law irrespective of the motives of the demonstrations. He describes the demonstrations as drumbeats of violence, mayhem, incitement to violence, and civil disobedience, and will instill fear in the hearts of people, especially in election years like these. Attorney General Godfrey Dame has also appealed to the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono to facilitate hearing of cases pending in court in relation to Galamsey within a month. He explained that the slow pace of justice on Galamsey issues should be dealt with quickly, since this will bring justice and help dissuade persons who would want to venture into illegal mining. Also, President Akufo Addo has assured Ghana's commitment to making governance more transparent, accountable, and responsive to the needs of the people. In a statement read by Yawose Aduchum, the Minister of Education, during International Day for Universal Access to Information in Accra on Tuesday, October 1, the President said that a well-informed public is crucial for holding leaders accountable and ensuring meaningful participation in governance. Also, the Ghana Police Service should perform a swift completion of investigations into the cases involving protesters who joined the Democracy Hub demonstration, says the Attorney General Godfrey Dame. He urged them to facilitate the discharge of the innocent individuals among the 53 protesters who took to the streets to demonstrate against illegal mining, also known as Galamsey, who were later rounded up by the police for causing public mayhem and impeding free movement of road users. Now to our last story. I will tackle illegal small-scale mining ruthlessly, says presidential candidate for the NDC, former President John Dramani Mahama. Speaking to the clergy in Accra on Tuesday, October 1, Mr. Mahama said small-scale mining is recognized by law and must be done in a manner that does not harm the environment, and concession owners will be held liable for illegal mining within their concession areas. And this brings us to the end of news summary segment, and over, Beatrice.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Safwa Boahin. Let's bring you the details of our stories now. And the Minister of Health, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, has directed that the conduct of certain officials of the Trauma and Specialist Hospital in Winneba in the Central Region be reported to the Criminals Investigation Department, CID, and the Attorney General's Department. This follows investigations by the Ghana Health Service, which concluded that the employees identified as having contributed to the planning and evacuation of the patient from the hospital where she was abandoned until her death did not act appropriately. The committee also recommended that the said staff be sanctioned by the Ghana Health Service through internal disciplinary procedures. Now, let me just remind you that in June this year, a patient, an accident victim who was on admission at the Trauma and Specialist Hospital at Winneba, was discharged and abandoned in a bush where she died few days later. The incident attracted wide condemnation amid calls for action to be taken against the hospital staff involved. The Ministry of Health set up a 6-member committee to investigate the issue. We have the report of that. Dennis Poberi is in the studio with us to give us details. Dennis, just tell us more about the findings of the committee.
Well, so the committee has done a thorough job, and finally they've issued a report making some instructive findings with respect to the term of reference that they were given. So it's only important that we start off by the terms of reference that the committee was instructed to work with. So the first of them was to establish the identity and the background of the patient in question, and also to outline and report on all relevant events leading to the admission of the patient at the Trauma and Specialist Hospital. They were also to inquire into the diagnosis and management of the patient at the hospital, also to outline and report on all processes leading to the discharge and conveyance of the patient from the trauma hospital to Ojobi Township. They also were supposed to identify all the persons involved in the discharge process and transportation of the patient from the Trauma and Specialist Hospital to Ojobi, as well as their respective roles. Also to outline gaps, if any, in the admission, management, and discharge of the patient, and they also were to report on any other issues relevant to the subject matter.
So you just gave us details of the terms of reference there.
And I can tell you that this report contains the answers to all these questions that have been asked, beginning with who the patient was, or the identity of the patient. Unfortunately, the committee has been unable to, they've not been able to identify the exact identity of this patient, because from their findings, they realized that the patient was not a native or a resident in that particular community. So their suspicion is that the patient may have just come there for that particular, for that
after the accident.
After the accident, that's how she got into that community. But she's not somebody from that community. They are unable to make any traces to any family whatsoever. So as it stands now, per this particular report, they do not know the exact identity of the patient. Now, they've also done some face-to-face interviews just so to abreast themselves with what has happened. They've interviewed quite a number of people, as many as 20 people in all, just so to be able to understand what went through, right from the transfer process and all the diagnoses that were done on this particular patient. Now, some of the things that the committee has come to find out is the fact that there have been some lapses in the processes that the patient was taken through. For instance, when the patient was transported from the district hospital to a trauma and specialist office, there was no cover or transfer letter, which is the standard practice. In some instances, they also found out that for all the documentations that were done in respect of these processes, they either were scanty or not even existent at all. The very last moment when this patient was taken from the trauma and specialist hospital to the final destination, which happened to be the place where she passed on,
in the bush,
they did not see that even recorded in their transport system. Even at the point that they were discharging her as claimed by the hospital, according to this report, they say that they did not know exactly where they were transferring this patient to.
So is this report suggesting that those individuals who aided her transport did that unilaterally without the hospital's knowledge?
Well, so the hospital at some point, per the report, at some point the hospital is in the known, and it's in the known because they work in conjunction with some superiors in the office. They've had conversations with them, and they have also told their side of the story. And later I'll point out something to you which is very instructive in this particular report, to the effect that in their attempt to get information from some of these workers, the committee observed that some of the stories that were told were rehearsed, and that they were rehearsed just to cover up the truth in some of the stories that were told. So that was an observation that was made in this particular report.
But are you able to tell us like some of the stories that, the health ministry points out as having been rehearsed?
Well, it's not the health ministry which is saying so. It is the committee.
The committee, yes.
Yes. So let me just read that particular portion of the report to you where they said there was a display of dishonesty. And then it reads that the committee observed that almost all persons who appeared before it rehearsed and presented fabricated stories to conceal respective shortcomings in the case under investigation. It took a lot of probing and document review, which projected the various inconsistencies, disagreements, and contradictions in the various accounts rendered by the respective officers. These were observations that the committee made beyond the other findings that they had made. So, for instance, when it comes to how ineffective the hospital management system is, the committee observed that the management system in place at the trauma hospital it observed it to be in sharp contrast to other similar secondary level health facilities. The committee's observations is in reference to the undermentioned 4 key hospital management members. Now, they mentioned the medical officer has been one of such. Is that it was observed that the medical officer performed both administrative and support functions, which are supposed to be principal duties and of other officers. For instance, the committee noted that that staff had to see him personally for interest for petty supplies, approval for use of hospital vehicles, including ambulance, and issue of fuel kits. The above, the committee notes, is contrary to best practice in the hospital and management. They also make other observations about the clinical coordinator. They make observations about the head of the nursing and midwifery, and then the hospital administrator. They also talk about the absence of protocols in wards, and that a visit by the committee to the wards revealed that important nursing and midwifery protocols for admission and discharge were not available. This is the point where they make that at the point that they were discharging this patient, the patient was not even fit to be discharged. And that even post-care was not taken care of. And even the destination of this patient that they are discharged, they had no idea. They did not make plans for reintegration with family. They do not even have an idea who this patient was going to be with.
That contradicts the statement that came from the boss of the hospital, which said that she was well at the time they discharged her.
Well, so even in this particular report, they said that at some point when her vitals were taken just before she was discharged, she had low hemoglobin. That's to say that her blood was not up to what it was supposed to be, and that they did not do anything about that. And per this report, it's not right to discharge a patient at that particular moment, especially so that they had made a finding that this person was somebody who had a mental disorder, and that the person did not just need that care, the person also needed mental health care as well. They did not make provisions for that.
No. Now, beyond these, the health ministry is asking the police CID to come in addition to the internal disciplinary procedures that these individuals will be taking through. Can you take us through the breakdown of that information?
Yes, rightly so. So now the Ministry of Health has taken note of this particular report, and then the minister in that sector has now directed that the conduct of certain officials in this particular matter has been found out by the committee. It should be taken taken up by the Criminal Investigation Department and the Attorney General Department. Now, in a statement that was released just a few hours after the report was made public, the Health Ministry is saying, and I read, that this follows the investigation by the Ghana Health Service, which concluded that the employees identified as contributed to planning and evacuation of the patient from the hospital to Ojobi, where she was abandoned until her death, did not act appropriately. Now, did not act appropriately is highlighted. That's to say that was what they were found of doing. He said that the committee also recommended that the said staff be sanctioned by the Ghana Health Service through internal disciplinary procedures. That was one of the recommendations that was made by the committee. Now, however, the ministry is of the view that in light of the gravity of the issues captured in the report involving the loss of life, further investigation should be carried out by the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Consequently, the Minister of Health has requested the Assistant of the Attorney General to initiate an investigation into the cause to determine the culpability or otherwise of the affected staff and take any further actions deemed appropriate. This is the matter They said this matter has been reported to the Criminal Investigations Department. The Ministry of Health is committed to the recommendations made by the committee to the Ghana Health Service.
I know there's more in there, and we'll tease them out on 3news.com. And of course, as we go along this, thank you very much, Dennis Paberi, for bringing us details of this committee's report on the death of the patient abandoned in the bush at Ojobi in Winneba. We're joined by Christian Malm Hesse. He's a private legal practitioner. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening to you and your listeners.
I want to believe that you have followed this case where health workers abandoned this patient, left to die. Now we are getting a committee's report from the health ministry. Police and AG brought in what possible offences. Even before I go to the offences, let me get your preliminary thoughts really on the details given to us by the health ministry through the committee's report.
Yes, I mean, it's quite comprehensive, and they have satisfied the parameters of their reference to duty as far as the loss of that particular person is concerned. And just as this falls within the confines of the law, there are two aspects of the law that will deal with this matter. We have the criminal aspect and then the civil aspect. Now, when it comes to the loss of life, which contemplates on whether or not health persons are involved vis-a-vis the hospital, which will be held to have been vicariously liable, we look at whether in criminal law, we look at whether there was a more practice. The more practice deals with intention to cause harm that caused the death of the person. And when we are looking at the civil side, which deals with wrong occasioned on an individual, then the compensation regime is monetary. And with that, even though the person will not come back, we look at how we can quantify the damage caused to the person. We look at while the person was alive, the income that the person generated. We look at the expected life tenure of that person, and we also look at whether or not there exists dependence on the person. And these are the factors that the court would consider in arriving at compensation for the deceased, or which would be the claimant who will sue on behalf of the deceased, as in the estate. So that is why in civil settings, we have the compensation regime going so high to here 5 million, 4 point something, and all of that had been settled by the courts in similar fashion. Now, on the flip side of it, which is the criminal aspect, the CID would want to investigate, like I said, whether there was intention to cause death or to cause harm which led to the death of the individual, and save that there is no more practice, that will not suffice. This from reports and all of that is one more of medical negligence which will suffice in the civil court than the criminal. I am dealing with one which also went viral in that nature. I'll not go deeply into the matters because it's before the High Court. Similarly, the person was abandoned and also died. Yet it was referred to the one of the police stations at Volta region. I don't want to be specific, and subsequently referred to Attorney General for criminal investigations, but and conclusion in the criminal setting. But the Ministry of Health also had to conduct investigations into which, as a result of petitions that we put before it. And the report, just as you have it, also came clear that the hospital had carried liable, and the persons involved too were liable and cited inferences with respect to lapses in managerial procedures and lack of emergency pecons and all of that, So I'm happy about the role the Ministry of Health is beginning to take, and when my prayer also to the ministry is that when NGOs, as in civil organizations, go to it to assist them with proffering medical negligence projects, they should endorse them, because we are in this area of law. We have had situations where persons go to the Ministry of Health and they don't get the blessings, they don't get the support of the ministers, the ministry, and that has been a big challenge in promoting healthcare and medical law practice. They should help with the advocacy. Sometimes endorsement alone would help, because you never know. It shouldn't be that when somebody dies, that is when reports would come out like we have after petitions have been made. But when we are proactive to run seminars and all that to strengthen the healthcare, it would help all of us. This woman traveled probably from somewhere, because it seems from the report that she cannot really be identified with her family, meaning that she is not coming from that particular society where the incident happened. We never know where we will travel to, but if the healthcare is sustained, the delivery is on point, we will not suffer some of these things.
Indeed. I want to go back to an earlier comment you made when you were giving the scenarios where this case could be looked at. But listening to you and also listening to the evidence coming from the committee, not asking you to be prejudicial, do you think that perhaps indeed... you made a point about, okay, let me just move on to another case which has to do with what legal remedies that could be available for the family. You've touched a bit on that, but beyond that, what else could be available for the family?
Yeah, beyond that, for the family, I must also chip in to say that we also need, save that the person died and all that has been done. In court, we also need to know whether or not whatever happened to the woman, if an intervention had been carried out, would she have survived? If she would have survived, then in law we can say that the hospital has been negligent. But if that intervention had come and the woman would die anyway, even though the person did not act rightly, the misconduct existed, in law they cannot be held as negligent. So we have a lot of cases, both in our Ghanaian jurisprudence, and more especially when it comes to law of tort, we depend more on case law from the Commonwealth, and we have plethora of cases that deals with situations where, in one case like that, the woman came to the hospital, the man came to the hospital complaining of stomach pains and chest pains, and the GP failed to attend to that person. Now, he told him to go back home and later report to the hospital. And shortly thereafter, the man died. Now, the family sued. But at the end of the day, they realized that autopsy showed that the man died from arsenic poisoning. And the argument was that the man would have died anyway should there have been an intervention. So the point of law is that even though morally the hospital was wrong, the misconduct was sustained, in law that did not succeed. So save that we have this report, further investigations need to go on to satisfy courtroom issues with respect to evidence that indeed the explanations that are given will be sustained. And the report that had been done will also add up to corroborate further evidence that I've already explained in order to find justice for the lady.
So let me ask you.
Definitely rely on compensation.
My last but one question. You mentioned a bit about when you are doing the analysis, whether or not they would look at intention. Listening to the report, I'm not asking you to be prejudicial. Do you think there was an intention behind all that they did that led to the death of this woman?
So intention would be inferred, number one, when there are cautions. Number two, investigations will show. And further, at trial, where deduction or elicitation of evidence has been effected, we will be able to conclude fairly whether or not there was intention to commit that harm which led to the death of the woman. It will be too early for us to usurp what is yet to unfold to say that indeed there was intention to cause death. But so that's with the criminal aspect. But with the civil aspect, this is how the angles would pan out as far as medical negligence is concerned. So we have medical negligence and medical malpractice. They are two distinct things.
And my last question to you, you talked about handling a similar case. Is this a case you're interested in pursuing as well?
A case interested in pursuing. Let's see how it goes. Lawyers are not to advertise.
Let's see how it goes. Thank you very much. And that was a private legal practitioner, Christian Mom Hesse there, giving us his view regarding this woman who was abandoned in the bush and eventually died.
You're also live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's go on to some more stories now. As the issues playing out, the National Labour Commission is to summon organized labor on its intention to strike. According to the NLC, it will meet labor before the 10th of October 2024. Now, this comes 24 hours after organized labor declared strike. But the government is here to engage the leadership to prevent a strike. Labour is demanding that government bans all activities of small-scale mining and galamsey. Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Ofoso Asamoah, spoke with our Labour correspondent, Daniel Opoko, earlier today.
Yes, when are you going to divide the leadership of organizing? Because you have from now to next week.
Like I said,
they resume today.
Yes, we are going to meet on it soon after my interview with you, and then we will do the needful.
Hopefully by next week, Wednesday.
What exactly are you going to tell them?
Well, we have heard in there they should come properly before the commission, and then we know what to do, their process, and then we draw whoever the government has. The government will also have to bring its team, and then we look at it. You see, this is a bit of our regular, because this is not a case where the commission is going to sit on to look at an employer-employee relation in terms of their welfare, in terms of the implementation of a collective bargaining agreement, in terms of an employment contract, right? But this one has shifted to a demand that is not directly related to their employment relation or the welfare of the employees who are seeking to go on strike. Good. So this is a special case. It means that they acknowledge the presence of these Shamfan illegal miners. I will achieve be the one that on Tuesday, Shamfan miners are going for, and they are chiefs there in the village. They are chiefs.
My final question to you.
So, you see, sometimes it is not when people want to blame politicians, government politicians. There are politicians, they sit in the ministries here. But the villages where it's going on, the farmland don't people go to farm? Don't they see their land being destroyed? Don't they see when the excavators move from Accra to Kedi, tell me how many police checkpoints you will see. And where are the excavators? Do they ask questions? The police, the several barriers. When you cross here, you go to Aduajiri, there is one. In Sanwam, Adeso, Asamankesi, there are about 4. Before you get to Kedi and all that, you see them all the road. Do they question where the excavators are going? Yeah. What about the drones that we bought? I know in all the district assemblies and the drone could be able to tell who is mining where. And I know that wherever licenses have been issued for people to mine, the district in which they are operating, the district assembly, and for that matter, the district chief executive and the district should be aware that these areas within the community have been given out for mining. The chiefs are also aware that, yes, I'm the chief of Tuabodom, and this area within my traditional area of my land has been given out for mining. Do they visit there? What sort of mining? When they see their water color being changing. You see, it's an irresponsibility on behalf of everyone, the citizenry.
That's the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission there. And let's stay a bit further on this matter as we get some reactions to this particular position as stated by the National Labour Commission Executive Secretary. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's joining us on the telephone. I think we lost Executive Secretary. In fact, the labor expert, Austin Game, we'll try to raise him back on the telephone to get some more quick reactions to this. But, Council, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yeah, good evening. It's Ocansey.
Great. Now, the National Labour Commission is making the point that there was some level of illegality in their view in already the position that Labour has taken. They want them to come before the table and then also have a conversation even before a notification of a strike because of Galamsey is put out there, as was done yesterday by the TUC.
Oh. I thought I was told we would do the conversation on the Attorney General's comments. Or this
yes, but I just needed you to a brief one on this one before we go into the AGs.
Yeah, I struggle to see how the National Labour Commission has jurisdiction over this matter. No. I think it appears to be they are being political, too political, because I just looking at the National this in the Labour Act. I don't see the jurisdiction of the National Labour Commission. I don't. I think they should be careful where they are treading. On a matter of strike, is it an employer-employee strike like in the ordinary sense of the word? No. It's not one relating to pay conditions of service. No, this is not the type of strike contemplated within the Labour Act. The Labour Act deals with matter of the conditions of service, okay, and the relationship between employer and employee when it comes to the service, an employee serving in or working for an employer. This one is an Article 21 right. The kind of strikes that are dealt with under the Labour Act are ones that relate to the conditions of service of employees. That this strike that the TUC wants to embark upon, it's not about their conditions of service. It's about a general existential threat. So this is an Article 21 right. The Constitution guarantees in Article 21 that citizens have the right to demonstrate. It's a form of expression when they are not happy about something, right? Yeah, so when the TUC says workers should not go to work on that day, it's justified. It has nothing to do with employer-employee. There is a derelict government, bad governance by Akufo-Addo, which has triggered this. So I don't see what the National Labour Commission is going to do in this situation. It's not about employment. It's not about conditions of employment. I really struggle to see the jurisdiction. It's not that the TUC workers are unhappy about certain conditions of service necessitating such a measure, the strike. That's not the type of thing. So this one is not covered.
And Council, but perfect. And please, this was the initial thought on this particular one, and then kindly hold on a bit for me while I also welcome Austin Game, who is a labor expert. Mr. Game, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to take a listen briefly to what the National Labour Commission Executive Secretary Fosu Asamoah said with regards to the intended strike by the TUC, in fact by organized labor in the next 9 days.
My final question to you.
You see, sometimes it is not what people want to blame politicians, government politicians. There are politicians, they sit in the ministries here. But the villages where it's going on, the farmland don't people go to farm? Don't they see their land being destroyed? Don't they see when the excavators move from Accra to Kedi, tell me how many police checkpoints you will see. And where are the excavators? Do they ask questions? The police, the several barriers. When you cross here, you go to Aduajiri, there is one. In Sawam, Adeso, Asamankesi, there are about 4. Before you get to Kedi and all that, you see them all on the road. Do they question where the excavators are going? What about the drones that we bought? I know in all the district assemblies and the drone could be able to tell who is mining where. And I know that wherever licenses have been issued for people to mine, the district in which they are operating, the district assembly, and for that matter, the district chief executive and the district should be aware that these areas within the community have been given out for mining. The chiefs are also aware that, yes, I'm the chief of Chuabodom, within my traditional area of my land, has been given out for mining. Do they visit there? What sort of mining? When they see their water color being changed? Like I said,
they resume today.
Yes, we are going to meet on it soon after my interview with you, and then we will do the needful.
What exactly are you going to tell them?
Well, we have heard in there they should come properly before the commission.
So, Mr. Game, that's the National Labour Commission's expectation of organized labor. They have to come properly before the commission. That's what the Executive Secretary is expecting.
Yeah. Well, I think they may have a certain wish to express as a government and coming through the Labour Commission to enable them to discuss with, is it to find a solution to the Galante problem or about the strike? If it's about the strike, as the case may be, I think they are overstepping their boundaries. Look, let me tell you this. We must take this thing seriously. Under Article 36 of the Article 36, the basic principles of state policy, sub 9 and 10, it's important to understand that environmental problems are critical problems for working people. And the Constitution is very clear as to the role of the president and the government vis-a-vis how to protect the environment for and on behalf of the people. That is very key. Then, two, when it comes to the labor law itself, it's clear that organized labor, this is the first time we have framed organized labor in the form in which we have framed it. We have various unions, but when it comes to things of commonality that affects the life and safety and health of the people who are members of the union, even non-members of the union as coming together as organized labor under Section 113C and also B. They are the key people to speak for and on behalf of the working people. Matters affecting environment, safety, and health. And this is about the extreme matter about water pollution, which you don't need anybody to tell you what the situation is currently. And so I'm even amazed about the way this divide and rule tactics that is being deployed to divide the front of the people. You better call them, rather sit with them as government, not organized, not Labour Commission. The Labour Commission cannot solve this problem. They have no locus to be able to solve this problem. So they should not even worry themselves inviting them for this purpose. This is an environmental problem, and it's very, very critical for all of us.
And so for you, that meeting they are asking for should not be one that they take in opposition to organized labor's intended strike, but rather some sort of an avenue to seek solution of a sort?
That should be done not by the Labour Commission. The Labour Commission don't have a mandate to do that. All they can do is to be doing things behind the scene. But the government, if I were to be the president, I will invite the people and chair the meeting myself and tell them how I, as president, feel about this situation and what possibly can be done. You cannot delegate this particular matter to Labour Commission. It's not in their domain to do that. What is important right now is that we are being polluted, we are being poisoned, and it will be suicidal on our part to accept these blanket arrangements. And more so when immediately Labour has announced this, there is some machinations going on and some other people signing letter on behalf of closers, on behalf of KU, on behalf of GPRTU, on behalf of other people trying to divide and rule the people. We don't do that. I wish the president well that he will get the people to a meeting and they can maybe discuss and find a common solution that will satisfy all of us, because we cannot continue facing this kind of deliberate killing of ourselves. We are going to kill ourselves. This is why it's deliberate. We cannot pretend to be ignorant about it.
Mr. Gama, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Austin Gama is a labor expert joining us with his thoughts on this matter. And Counsel, Martin Pewo, this is where I bring you in again, because the Attorney General, Godfrey Ocansey, is calling for a swift completion of investigations into the case of the detained Democracy Hub protesters currently facing prosecution to enable the discharge of the innocent ones amongst them. At the last hearing, we do know that 39 protesters were remanded into custody. The police give us an update that 54 of the protesters are the ones they have in custody. Case has been adjourned to October 8, 2024. They've been slapped with multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit crime, unlawful assembly, unlawful damage, offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace. And at the annual general meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Godfrey Ocansey noted that the legitimacy of concerns raised during the protest must not infringe on the right to freedom of movement or the safety of security officers. And I want to take a listen to him. Now engage you on exactly what his position is.
In his address, the Attorney General, Godfrey Ocansey, highlighted that over 140 cases involving 850 accused persons in illegal mining cases in courts across the country were yet to be concluded due to the slow pace of justice. He prayed the Chief Justice to help resolve the situation.
Right. We are in urgent national crisis, and all citizens and institutions with any form of role to play must be called upon to act. Your leadership, I therefore respectfully call on you to direct all judges sitting on Galamsey cases to conclude the cases, the hearing of which has started within 1 month from the commencement of the legal year on 10th October 2024. Reasonably, it can be done.
Citing the issue of Democracy Hub protesters charged for misdemeanors during their 3-day protest, Godfrey Ocansey warned that persons who breached the peace and exceeded the limits of free expression will face the rigors of the law. He also urged the police to expedite the investigations and release protesters who are innocent.
There are attempts to create tension and instill fear into people through demonstrations, which in some cases are a ruse for mounting an attack on the security forces for our nation and disrupting the running of essential services, essential public services. This, with the greatest respect, is not countenance in the democracy. I urge the police service to swiftly conclude investigations by the next adjourned date to the cases involving the prosecution of SSs for recent protests in Accra, so as to exclude by that date all those against whom sufficient evidence cannot be found to proceed further. I also advise the prosecution to consider relevant bail applications at the next adjourned dates of the cases.
Responding to the AG's appeal, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu indicated that the prosecution had to shoulder the blame for the delays. She, however, cautioned judges against needless adjournments.
The Office of the Chief Justice receives petitions about delays through unending adjournments of cases. I wish to implore judges to do away completely with the model of fixing cases, quote, for mention, unquote. No matter how tall a cause list is, my sincere view is that with the inclusion of witness statements as a necessary part of the trial process in both civil and criminal cases, there's no need for a court to adjourn a case after the case management conferences for mention.
So, Lawyer Martin People, that's the Attorney General there, urging the police to swiftly conclude on the investigations, specifically by the next adjourned date of the cases involving the prosecution of these Democracy Hub protesters, and that the relevant bail applications should also be considered. What's your take on this new, at least the position of the Attorney General as communicated today?
Yeah, so I would say that the Attorney General is involved in smokes and mirrors. Smokes and mirrors, basically double standards. No, he's the one prosecuting the case. He's a prosecutor, yes, though he's not physically in the court. It's his representatives that come to court. They are prosecuting the case on his behalf. So once he saw, and of course it's for him to get competent people to assist him, once they saw that there were issues of doubt that some people could be innocent, all those persons should have been admitted to bail, not just all the accused persons. So the fact that he didn't do it, and now the case is being taken to court and he's now asking the police to hurry his investigation, just shows the class incompetence and double standard that he's always been involved in. It's only in Ghana that Godfrey Dami can be an Attorney General. Somebody who is misconducted himself like this. I mean, how? Because once you got a docket from the police, it was his duty to scrutinize all these persons to see if prima facie, that is to say on the face of it, they are involved. If he has reason to doubt the involvement of some of these persons, he was not supposed to oppose the bill. But his officers were in court strenuously arguing against the grant of bill. So the Attorney General is just involved in smokes and mirrors. That's double standard. Double standard. I mean, come on, look. He should give us a break. He should know that Ghana is not his property. In about 2 months' time, or 3 months' time, he'll be leaving office. He will return to be an ordinary citizen. Then he would feel the other side of it. He's likely to be prosecuted for offenses while he was in office. He will feel the other side of it. Then he will know that, oh, this man, he should have done his bit while he was in office as an Attorney General.
I see. So, in effect, I do know that you are also involved in the thick of things when it comes to representation of these persons, Democracy Hub protesters, legally. What's the latest to that? I mean, is there any indication that they will be granted bail sooner than expected?
Yes. So today, some of them, that's 9 of them, our governor's case, was adjourned to Monday, 7th October. So hopefully on that day, they will be granted bail because we've all agreed as a society that this remand for 2 weeks is disproportionate. Of course, the original date for the court hearing was supposed to be 8th October. So coming out a day before, well, it's still better. But it just shows you that as a society, we are very weak. We are weak as a society. We need to sit up. You see, this thing about being individuals, it doesn't concern me. You never know when the police would mistakenly arrest your relation or yourself. These things happen all the time. So as a society, we need to get up and improve our laws. Because you see, today's adjournment like this, I'm very sad that the papers from the circuit court, because they were not ready and could not be presented to the court. Today, there was a sitting today. But because the proceedings of the circuit court could not be presented to the court today, the judge had to adjourn to Monday. I'm also thinking that preferably the judge could have adjourned to worst case Friday, and Friday is a lot better than Monday. So look, citizens need to get up. Let's make more noise because the quality of the law is also very important in our march towards development. When we say economic development, it's not just about roads, hospitals, iPhones, all right, better food, etc. It's also about the rule of law, the quality of the law. The law is bad because I would have subscribed to a situation where the judge adjourns to even tomorrow and then pressure will be put on the circuit court judge to get the proceedings. If they are not getting it, and tomorrow they could have brought in the proceedings. They could have brought in the original book that the judge wrote in. Yes, nothing stops us from bringing the original book, because if the title is not complete, they could have brought in the book. They could have brought the raw book, then the judge will read what the circuit court judge wrote. Then we can move on. So the bitter lesson we are learning today, the reason the abridgment application, and of course the bail application could not be taken today, is that our law is weak, saying that we should get the typed version. But in appropriate circumstances, once the typed version of the proceedings is not ready, you can have made arrangements to bring the raw book, that's the original book in which the judge, Governor Kodia Obriyebua wrote. Then the High Court judge will look through. We need to improve the quality of our law. There are so many anachronistic laws. Too bad.
Counsel, I do appreciate your thoughts on this matter as always, and we'll definitely be having a lot more conversation on this matter in the coming days. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner and one of the lawyers giving some legal support to the arrested Democracy Hub protesters.
Let's bring you some more here on Hot Edition. And the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, has launched a significant initiative in preparation for Ghana's upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections on December 7, 2024. The coalition has deployed 100 long-term observers across all 16 regions of the country to monitor the pre-election environment from October 1 to December 4, 2024. Now, the LTOs will observe key activities of various election stakeholders, including the Electoral Commission, political parties, and civil society organizations. And Albert Ahin is the national coordinator of the Domestic Election Observers. He'll be joining us very shortly to tell us more about this very deployment, what it seeks to achieve beyond what I just told you, and how it would help ensure that we are able to have a free, fair, and transparent elections come December 7.
Okay.
All right, we do have him on the line. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Ms. Ahin.
Yes.
Good evening to you. You're welcome to Hot Edition. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Yes, today is my birthday and I'm more happy than all.
Oh, happy birthday to you, sir. But are you able to please tell us more about the specific goals CODEO hopes to achieve through this long-term observation mission leading up to the December elections?
Yeah, and you want it now?
Yes, sir. You're actually live on air. You're live on stream.
Live on air. Oh, okay. Well, it's something that we've been doing, and we did train some 100 observers. That was done over the weekend. And the aim actually is to send them to the field. We have about 3 months to the election. So they are going to do 2 months long-term observation. And the aim is actually to find out, first of all, about the EC's preparation in terms of everything to do with the election. We also would want to know and talk to the security agencies about their preparations towards the election. We'll also be going to the various regions to look at the parties and their campaigns. You know, around this time, they are going to do a lot of campaign in some areas, in so many areas. And we'll be specifically looking at what are they telling the people? What is the message that they are giving to the electorate? So one is the EC and their preparation so far, the trainings that they will be doing. Then we will go to the political parties to know what they are telling the people during the campaign. And then we will be specifically looking for hot spots, like, you know, some places where normally there will be some riots, if there is anything like any problem to do with the campaigning, like violence or whatever. We would want to cover everything. and then inform the public. And you see, what we really do is that we would want to inform, in the long run, the short-term observers, so they know exactly what to look out for when they go to the field. So we employ long-term observers to be able to get things ready so that the short-term observers will be able to use the information and work on it.
So you're looking at hotspots, you're looking at what the Electoral Commission is doing in terms of preparation, and then you're talking about party campaigns. What exactly do you want to hear from the campaigns?
Well, we would want to listen to the campaigns. For example, what is the message they are giving to the people? Today they have manifestos.
What is the purpose of that? Is it to find out whether they are going to use inflammatory language or they are inciting the people? What is the purpose of that?
Yes, maybe some of these things will also be found out. Look, sometimes when they are campaigning, some politicians promise the moon. You know that they are not supposed to be telling people that, for example, I'm going to construct routes for you, I'm going to give you lights when I come to power. These things are not meant for them. So are they telling them the same thing? When they go to the platform and they are talking, do they talk like, I'm going to tie all your routes for you? Because we know, for example, that they are not supposed to be tying routes. That's not their work. But for most of the time, that is what they tell the people. So we will listen to them. And you know what? Sometimes we even follow up. When we've gone rounds and we have listened to them, and they've gone to power, they maybe win and they go to Parliament, we follow up to find out about the promises that they made. Are they living up to the promise? You said you were going to do this, you're going to do that. Then behind your back, we may go to the constituency and find out the promises that you made. Are you fulfilling them? So it is not for nothing that we go to the place. We go to find out what they tell the people, the atmosphere. Is it a calm atmosphere? Are we going to have a peaceful election? Are the signs there to show that we're going to have a peaceful election? These things will all come up.
Beyond the observation, though, how do you intend to collaborate with them, political parties and the Electoral Commission, to ensure that we're able to have transparent and peaceful polls come December 7?
Yes, we normally engage them. We talk to them. We will go to the offices and we have some conversations with them. And these things are all geared towards. And of course, we are preaching peace as well. We talk about peace because we want everybody to know that without peace, there can be no election. There can be no development. So this is also an avenue, an opportunity to be talking about these things.
Is there any plan on how...
You asked your question.
Is there any plan on how you want to let in the public, just so that the public is also able to contribute to this project you're embarking on?
Yes, when you get to the constituency, you definitely be talking to people. You'll be talking to people, especially the party people, the citizenry. You will even be talking to the citizenry. You would want to know what they think about the parties and their campaigns and what is going on. You would want to know or talk to them about security. How do they feel about security? Are they secured? Are they going to be protected during the election? These things also are necessary, for you to know, so that this will inform us. And remember, anytime they go and they find anything that is going to mar the beauty of the election, they will quickly inform us that this is what we saw, and we think that we are treading on dangerous ground, so maybe certain things ought to be done so that we nip it in the bud. So that is why they write the report. When they go, they write the report. And these reports, we look at them, we analyze them, and if there are actions to be taken, then we do take them.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much, Albert Ahin, National Coordinator, Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. Thank you for sharing those views with us. You're still here on Hot Edition, 3FM 92.7. Check your time. It's 6 p.m. Michael Ogodu is standing by with the latest in business. Stay with us.
Thank you for having me.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported.
All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified. Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, concerns over renewed pressures of cost of living emerge as inflation increases to 21.5% in September, ending 5-month decline. I am Michael Obodu. Details coming shortly. And thank you so much for your time. Concerns over renewed pressures of cost of living have emerged because Ghana's inflation has increased to 21.5% for the month of September, up from 20.4% in August. According to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim, the increase is largely due to a significant rise in food inflation from 19.1% to 22.1%. The latest increase marks the end of 5 consecutive months of declining year-on-year inflation.
In the month of September 2024, year-on-year rate of inflation stood at 21.5%, indicating that between September 2023 and September 2024, the average price levels of goods and services went up by 21.5%. On a year-on-year basis, for September 2024, prices of goods and services went up by 21.5%. This indicates a 1.1 percentage point variation between the year-on-year inflation that was recorded in August 2024, which stood at 20.4%, relative to the 21.5% that has been recorded for September 2024. Disaggregating this from a food and non-food perspective, food inflation recorded a higher rate of 22.1%, while non-food inflation recorded 20.9% for the month of September 2024. While we are seeing an increasing rate for food inflation by 3.0 percentage points between August 2024 and September 2024, we see a marginal decline for non-food inflation as it declined by 0.6 percentage points from 21.5% in August 2024 to 20.9% in September 2024.
So that was government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim speaking there. Now away from that, the CEO of Telecel Ghana, Patricia Obo-Nai, has attributed the rising cost of data in the country to the high cost of doing business. Despite Ghana being one of the countries with the cheapest data rates in the sub-region, many Ghanaians feel that data prices have increased significantly in recent times. Speaking on the sidelines of the Digital and Innovation Week in Accra, Ms. Obo-Nai emphasized the need for collective efforts to address the concerns of industry players to make data more affordable for consumers.
The industry, well, we have always said that we carry over 20% of everything we generate going to taxes, and if you pay corporate tax, then you're about 40%. And so there's opportunity, whilst everybody's talking about the cost of data, to look at the inputs, to look at the cost of bringing in equipment, because 70-80% of what we use here are imported. And so if there's so much duty on that, then it makes it very difficult for us to reduce the cost. There's electricity, there's water, there's the general cost of production is high, and so it's a collective conversation that we need to have to see how every stakeholder contributes to us reducing the cost of data.
Patricia Obo-Nai is CEO of Telecel Ghana. Now, the world's 2 largest cocoa producers, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, have reaffirmed their commitment to improving the livelihoods of cocoa farmers and fostering a sustainable cocoa economy through the continued collaboration of the Cote d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative. This follows the recent announcements of cocoa producer prices from both countries, marking a significant step towards ensuring that cocoa prices better reflect the true value of the crop, addressing long-standing market failures that have historically left farmers with inadequate earnings. In a statement issued by the Cote d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative on Wednesday, October 2, it said since 2019, both nations have worked closely to counter counter the volatility in the global cocoa market, where prices have often fallen below production costs. Now, there are calls for homegrown solutions to address Ghana's high unemployment challenge. At the sidelines of an entrepreneurship fair organized by his Alfred, coordinator of the Ghana Report Jobs and Entrepreneurship Fair, Adib Sani, emphasized the importance of placing relevance on TVET, equipping young people with skills which will nurture their talents for the future while also reducing unemployment in the country.
Innovation is the way to go. The world is rapidly changing. And so if you don't have your educational system suited to conform with the rapidly changing nature of the world, you might lag behind. That is why we think that focus should be placed on the TVETs, on the STEMs. So at least these young people would be equipped with the technical know-how to be able to find something to do for themselves. So they don't have to complete school and be hopping from one office to another looking for jobs.
So that was Adib Sani, he's coordinator of the Ghana Report Jobs and Entrepreneurship Fair, bringing an end to the business segment on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on TFM 92.7 with me, Oreku Ampofo. We do start off with the latest concerning the Black Stars and the search for a stadium, as that search has finally concluded after the Confederations of African Football approved the Accra Sports Stadium for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations Match Day 3 qualifier between Ghana and Sudan. A letter from CAF to the General Secretary Prosper Harrison Addo read, and I quote, following a comprehensive review of the reports of the CAF independent inspection regarding the Cape Coast and Accra Sports Stadium, we are pleased to inform you that the Accra Sports Stadium has been approved to host the AFCON qualifiers for Morocco 2025. Specifically, it will host Group F Match Day 3 encounter between Ghana and Sudan, which is scheduled for October 11, 2024. In light of this approval, we kindly request the Ghana Football Association and the stadium management team to prioritize the necessary enhancement to the pitch and other critical areas of the stadium leading up to match day to ensure an optimal experience for both teams and their attending fans. Please note that CAF will continue to closely monitor the readiness of the stadium for this match as well as future CAF sanctioned events. And so this looks like a conditional approval for the Accra Sports Stadium, and as things stand, that would be the stadium that would be used for the game between Ghana and Sudan, which is in just about a week time. It's now time to hear from the General Manager of Sport here at the Media General, that's Michael Otije, and he's been speaking on the approval of the Accra Sports Stadium and believes that it didn't have to come this far.
We can't continue to let facilities like Sipon, like Tamale. I've seen pictures from Tamale where officials are passing pictures around and videos around, literally sometimes to pat themselves on the back for a brilliant job done in renovating the pitches and the rest. And I'm wondering, what is this even about? You know, so I really hope that this changes and that this scare becomes something that's solved. We'll have another conversation later about the football side of it, why this game is important, and why it's important for Accra fans to give the Black Stars the absolute best of support. But having escaped the ignominy of playing our match away from home, I really do hope, and I think the hope of a lot of sports fans, sports journalists, everybody, is that this will become the absolute big wake-up call that the National Sports Authority and their supervisors, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, need to take the management of the stadium seriously and to take especially the welfare of the players seriously in providing the best pitches for the country to play its international matches on, so that we don't go through this embarrassing episode again.
Also, we'll be keeping a close eye on the development of the story. As of now, what we do know is that the Accra Sports Stadium has been conditionally approved to the UEFA Champions League now, where six-time winners Liverpool kicked off this season's league phase with a 3-1 victory away at AC Milan, and now take on another side from Syria on match day 2 as they welcome Bologna to Anfield. They'll be confident that they can make it 2 wins out of 2, and their head coach Arne Slot has been speaking ahead of the game.
We, as Liverpool, know how difficult it can be to play against a team that's man-marking all over the pitch, which is what Bologna does, and what Atalanta did here last season. So, to face an Italian team at Champions League level, and we know how difficult it was to face an Italian team on Europa League level. So we don't underestimate them at all, because also that's not what they deserve for the way they played last season and even this season.
That was Liverpool boss Arne Slot. Before we go, let's do some more Champions League stories, where at 7 p.m. Aston Villa would be playing Champions League football at home for the first time in more than 40 years. They have to face a very huge opposition in Bayern Munich, and their head coach Unai Emery is looking forward to the occasion.
We are motivated, and we are so excited to play tomorrow with our supporters in Villa Park. This scenario, this match, remembering as well the final in the Cup d'Europe played against them 42 years ago. But now, in this moment in our process, we have to try to play one match more.
And that was Unai Emery. Just the current UEFA Champions League games being played. After more than 70 minutes played, Feyenoord lead Girona by 2-1, and Shakhtar Donetsk are currently losing at home by 3-0 to Atalanta. That's how we wrap up the sports here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
frequency. 92.7 3FM.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Obiambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
This is 3FM 92.7, your election command center.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, it's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, you know, like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer from a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my way to a knockout, like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast that I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to extensive analysis, insights, and highlights.
So join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the most satisfying buffet in the world of sports. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in sports on Sports Ultras.
On campaign trail tonight, President Akrofi has appealed to the chiefs and people of the Upper West region to give their overwhelming support to the Vice President and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to break the 8. He said breaking the 8 and having the number 8 is not a good sign.
These nearly 20 years that I have been working with Mahmoud Bawumia, I have not had one day, one occasion to doubt his loyalty, to doubt his commitment to our common cause. And I've come here to ask you for your support. Make Bawumia break the 8. I see that the former president is saying all kinds of things about the number 8 that he chose. And then it means he's going to win. Well, breaking the 8 and having the number 8, that's not a good sign at all. Our game is to break the 8, and you picked that 8. Then it's very simple.
And you heard that President Akrofi now touching on elections and handing over power. The president highlighted the importance of the elections and assured that he would do everything possible to hand over power in peace.
Everything is going to be done by my government and myself to make sure that the elections of December 7th are going to be free, fair, and transparent. Everybody with the power of the vote and the thumb will have a say in determining who will be the next president and who will be the next member of parliament in your area. As president, I cannot impose anybody on you. I don't have the power and I don't have the interest. I want the decision, just as I was elected. The next person to stand here in my shoes will also be elected by the people of Ghana.
And you had President Akufo to the camp of the opposition NDC and the presidential candidates of the party. John Mahama says all credible opinion polls have predicted a win for the NDC. He has therefore asked his supporters to disregard opinion polls that claim otherwise. He was speaking on a campaign tour in the Northeast region.
Two have given us the assurance that they are going to change the government on 7th December 2024 and bring the NDC back to come and continue the good work that we were doing when we had the reins of government. All the credible opinion polls have predicted that NDC is going to win. And so because of that, the MPP and government have started publishing fake opinion polls that have no methodology, opinion polls where you cannot find the people who did the research. And so ignore all those fake opinion polls. Everything indicates, and every credible institution, Economic Intelligence Unit, Fish Solutions, Global Info Analytics, every proper, credible opinion poll shows that NDC is going to win the election. But of course, we must not be complacent. We must protect every single person's vote. And that is why I say, in this election, all of us are going to be polling agents. We're not going to select just 2 polling agents to go and sit there, and the rest of us go home and sleep. We would stay there until every vote is counted and the result is declared before we go to bed. So from the 7th to the 9th of December, none of us is going to sleep.
And you heard former President John Mahama. And that will be it for Campaign Trail on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But before we go, prostate cancer can occur in any man aged 40 years and above. But factors such as age, family, history, and race influence one's chances of developing the condition. In 2022, Ghana recorded 27,000 new cancer cases, out of which more than 2,300 were prostate cancer. Data also suggests that about 30% of men over 40 years have had a prostate cancer screening, while 60% of cases are often presented at advanced stages. Listen to Professor of Urology and Head of Department of Surgery at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and President of the Ghana Association of Urological Surgeons, Professor James Edward Mensah, speaking more about this.
Yes, we're only about 14 urologists in this country. Now we are approaching 80. So the training is ongoing, but it can be faster. And with the recent completion of the urology center in Kolebu, we'll have more theater space. You see, the patients to operate on, they are there. They are numerous. Our challenge has always been the theater space, anesthesia, and sometimes nursing. We have to start using technology. A good multiple parametric MRI can tell us that this prostate is most unlikely to harbor the aggressive cancer. So since a patient, even if your PSA is marginally elevated, we may not biopsy you. Elsewhere, after your PSA, the next is to do MRI. But we don't have the money to have MRI machines all over the country. So we have to have another way. And that is where the rectal examination, putting a finger in your rectum to feel the back of your prostate, is very important. Some men don't like it, but you see, That one requires only gloves and Vaseline. Sometimes when we discuss with the patient and he finds it uncomfortable, we won't push it. We will just request for MRI for him, which is about 3,000 Ghana cedis.
And you had the Professor of Urology and Head of Department of Surgery at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, James Edward Mensah. And that's it for Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Edu.
And I am Alfred Ocansey. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.